Hello everyone, it's Skil here from the Grim Reapers, and today I will be going through a hardware review for the Authentikit replica Spitfire Mark 9 Spade grip. Before I get into the review itself, I'll give you a little bit of a background about the grip and how I came to be doing a review for it. A few weeks ago, a nice chap called Phil contacted Cap and asked if we, the Grim Reapers, would be interested in doing a review of his recently released product, a replica of the Spitfire Mark 9 Spade grip. The grip is a full-scale replica and is designed with VR in mind. As I only fly in VR and love flying the Spitfire in DCS and IL2, I jumped at the chance to have a go at flying the Spit in VR using a Spade grip rather than the usual stick. I got in touch with Phil and he explained what Authentikit was all about. What immediately stood out about Phil's plan is that he isn't producing the stick for sale. Instead, he is literally giving away the plans for free to anyone who wants to download them. The body of the grip is designed specifically to be 3D printable, but the engineering and hardware components are still of high quality using Hall effect sensors and sealed bearings. What's more is, the designs are such that you do not have to be an electrical or mechanical engineer to put the grip together. In fact, you don't even need a soldering iron. All of the details regarding the product are available on the Authentikit webpage, as are the plans for downloading and a list of components you need to make your own grip. Phil and Authentikit's aim is not just to make the flight stick, their aim is to design and release the plans for a set of primary flight controls, including elevator trim, throttle quadrant, gear and flaps levers. He then hopes, with the help of the community, to add other controls and not just for the Spitfire. He wants to do controls for other warbirds as well as general aviation aircraft. There are some good videos by Phil showing the step-by-step construction of the grip. As well as those, Authentikit has a very active Discord, where the members all share ideas and the progress of their builds. I will include the links to their webpage and YouTube channels in the description below. For the purposes of full disclosure, Phil sent me a completed Spade grip along with the full rig and table mount so that I could do an honest review. He did not ask for any favourable comments, instead he insisted that I highlight any potential issues or concerns so that he could work to improve his design. Phil sent me version 2 of the grip, which allows firing of both the machine guns and the cannon at the same time, which is an improvement or evolution over version 1 of the grip. I am not including any unboxing or review of packaging in this video. It is not really relevant, as I have already mentioned the point of this product is that you build it yourself. However, I will show you what Phil sent me, just to give you an idea of what you will have once you have completed this part of your project. The mounting rig is a monitor stand which is mounted upside down underneath the desk. There is a 3D printed quick release mounting plate fitted to where the monitor would normally attach. As you can see here, I have the mount located on the back of my desk with the arm extending underneath the desk so that the grip is located centrally. An Ethernet cable connects to the base of the grip and is fed along the arm to the connector box. The box is then connected via standard USB to the PC, or in my case, a USB hub. The connector box has been made with expansion in mind. There are numerous empty socket mounts to allow for adding further components such as throttle quadrants, gear levers, etc. Once everything is put together and the cables are connected, setting up the stick in Windows could not be easier. Simply open your game controller settings page in Windows, find the stick and calibrate it. There is no third-party software required. The grip itself is beautifully well crafted, with all of the main bodywork, the fire buttons and brake lever having been 3D printed. The grip is wrapped in a tape, giving it an authentic look as well as making it comfortable to hold. As you can see, the roll and pitch axes are independent of each other. Both are very precise thanks to the large range of motion and the Hall effect sensors that monitor the movements. The pitch movement is large enough that when you get into a dogfight and you're pulling back hard, the grip is resting against your stomach. Maybe that's just me. Both axes are smooth and there is no physical center detent, so the motion in any direction just flows through the center with no clunkiness. The springs which are fitted to pull the axis back to the center are strong enough to recenter both axes, and as you pull further away from the center, the tension increases gradually, meaning that more force is needed to pull all the way to the limits of the axis. My first impressions were the springs felt a bit light, however once I got used to the feel of the grip, I think they're pretty good. I remember reading and seeing many interviews with real-life Spitfire pilots who said that you basically had to think about a maneuver and the plane did it for you. This kind of reminds me of that, as it feels effortless. The fire buttons are a joy to use, the upper half for 303s, the lower half for 20mm Hispanos. Push the middle for both. What more could you ask for? The brake lever is another axis with a Hall effect sensor. It moves smoothly and is pulled back to the fully off position by a small piece of bungee. There is even a clever little tab on the back of the grip which can be turned to hold the brakes in a fully on position as a parking brake. It takes a long time to get used to taxiing the Spitfire in DCS, and I hear many complaints from folks starting out with the Spit about how badly it handles on the ground, waddling along, having to use the brakes in combination with the rudder pedals. I usually use the paddle switch in the back of my stick, tapping away on it with the brakes going off and on repeatedly. However, I found that using the Spade grip with the brake lever axis gave me more control of the braking pressure and made the ground handling feel a lot easier. Now, I have no experience of 3D printing. I was not really sure about what to expect. Although I admit I was slightly concerned that 3D printed parts would feel fragile, brittle or cheap. I was pleasantly surprised by how sturdy the grip feels. Given that the vast majority of the grip is 3D printed, it is pretty lightweight, but it still feels sturdy. Since Phil sent me the grip, I have spent many hours testing it, and given the amount of punishment it has taken during some of the more intense dogfights, I am pleased to say it is still in one piece. The only issue I have had was the spring used to recenter the roll axis started to make a slight, for want of a better word, springy noise. I removed the front plate from the lower housing, and there was no obvious signs of damage to anything. I applied a tiny amount of light machine oil to the spring itself, and it was immediately back to being smooth and silent. I've updated Phil regarding this, and although no one else has reported having a similar issue, he is now aware and monitoring it. I usually fly with a Thrustmaster F18 stick fitted to a vertical base with a 100mm extension. That stick is mostly metal, it's heavy, feels good quality and expensive. The Authentikit Spitfire Mark 9 Spade grip is a homemade stick. It is clearly not made of mostly metal, it's not heavy, but it does feel like good quality and does not feel cheap. I asked Phil for a rough idea about the cost of putting the Authentikit Spade grip together. Not surprisingly, there are several factors which will influence the overall cost of the stick. If you already have a 3D printer, the filament used will cost about £15. However, you can also outsource the print into a service, which could cost up to about £200. The cost of the hardware, such as bearings, hall sensors, wiring and table mount, can be anywhere between £75 and £120 depending on where you source the parts. So, not including the cost of the 3D printer, which you can get from about £200, the Authentikit replica Spitfire Mark 9 Spade grip would likely cost between £90 and £135 to build yourself. Now remember, this is the cost for everything, simply plug it in, calibrate it and you're good to go. Now, over the many years I've been flying sims, I've spent quite a lot of money buying gear between the PC, VR, peripherals. I'd be more than happy to spend that amount of cash and end up with such a high quality product. Not only that, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you put it together yourself. In conclusion, I can honestly recommend this product to anyone who enjoys flying the Spitfire on any platform. And for me, especially in VR, having the feeling of that Spade grip in your hand just adds so much to the immersion. Having had a look at Authentikit's website and their Discord, it is clear that this is an ever-evolving project with improvements and refinements being looked for and implemented wherever they can be. I am really looking forward to seeing what Phil and the folk over at the Authentikit community can come up with next to add to their products. Well, this is Skil. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this review and I hope you found it useful. Catch you later.